Thank you very much, Vera. Let me say one thing about Vera. She was a wonderful teacher, and she had the gift of hospitality. She was willing to teach any child with any kind of need. And probably some teachers would be reluctant to do so, but she never wavered and she would do that. She not only took care of children in one district, but when visiting students came from overseas, she'd welcome them into her home. She also welcomed a group of ladies from the Czech Republic who came to sell books. They found a home with Vera, and so she just is a wonderful person. Anyway, it took me a long time to write a speech. I had no idea what to write about. And so I had a hard, difficult time deciding what to give a speech about. And then finally I was reminded of my speech teacher in college, who said to always give a speech on something you know a lot about. In case you lost your place in your speech, you could add lib until you recovered. And that was good advice for young people. But I find as I have grown older that I no longer know a lot about anything. But I know a little bit about many things. There's a popular song years ago that said, I know a little bit about a lot of things, but I don't know enough about you. So my speech will be a little bit about a lot of things that led to my being an educator. Where did I start from my first day in school 85 years ago? It was a country school, as I lived on a farm, and in those days there weren't many school buses, as we lived several miles from the nearest town. So there were one or two room schools built in the farm areas. My mother took my brother and me to school, as we lived about 2 miles away. There it was, a white one-room schoolhouse. Over the door, I couldn't read the name of the school. My brother said it said Happyville. And it was because we had a teacher who made it happy. She was a lot like Raylene Manzi, whose students will never forget how wonderful she was. This teacher's name was Miss Sager. She welcomed me with her arm on my shoulder and said we were going to have a wonderful year, and we did. There were 14 students that year at the school, ranging from 1st to 8th grade, and just the one teacher. She smiled a lot. She gave me confidence to myself when I was ready to give up learning my adding and subtraction tables, as well as other subjects in 1st grade. If I was doing something wrong, she wouldn't say, stop it, but rather, well, let's do it this way. She got me off to a good start with her positive attitude that stayed with me through my years of attending school. I wasn't so fortunate 5 years later as a 6th grader. We had moved to a farm on a bus route, and I was in a classroom with 20 other 5th and 6th grade students. World War II was raging now in 1942, and the talented, skilled men and women were participating in the warfare effort. Sadly, the others sometimes became teachers. Miss X, our teacher, was one of those. She was unsmiling and motivated her students by walking around the classroom with an 18-inch ruler with which she would tap you on the shoulder if you didn't have your head bent down studying. I think she also had the ruler on display to remind us we could use it for other purposes as well. I vowed that someday I'd be a 6th grade teacher and be a better teacher than she was. As it turned out, I did become a 6th grade teacher for 7 years, and hopefully was a better one than Miss X. When I became a teacher, among other enjoyable things, I enjoyed my fellow teachers. Usually I found it wasn't uncommon for a man teacher to try to tease a lazy teacher. A lady teacher, not lazy, a lady teacher. And in my case, I had a lady teacher tease me. She knew I was gullible. She knew I hated having the assistant superintendent, Miss W, visit my classroom and observe my teaching because of an earlier bad experience. The teachers could sign up for a time slot for Miss W to visit their classroom, but I never would sign up, hoping that other teachers would fill in all the slots. Or that Miss W would forget I was there. But she did come into my room, and my teasing friend saw her enter my room. After school, I checked my mailbox and found a black sympathy card made of black construction paper with a white lily made with point chalk on the folded cover with the words "in sympathy" printed on the cover. I opened the cover and inside said, "I'm so sorry you had a visitor." You might ask if anything exciting happened at school. When I was a principal at Cambria Heights, I was in my office and I heard a boy running into the office and saying he was going to die in 5 minutes, holding up his finger where he had a bee sting. I grabbed his emergency card and the boy, and we dashed to my car and drove to the address of the physician on the emergency card. When we arrived, we found out it was a boy's dentist. And the dentist said he wasn't prepared to handle bee stings. It was about 30 minutes since he had spoken about it, with no sign of the effects of the allergy. We had called a mom who came embarrassed and took him to his pediatrician to make sure he was okay, and he was. I was a principal in 4 different schools and was blessed with many wonderful teachers and students. The teachers were creative and worked hard to make the lessons interesting and meaningful. And with the students' parents, they helped the students become an asset to the community. Most of the students were eager to learn, and it was a pleasure to watch them mature as they moved to the next grade. I enjoyed working with the secretaries and custodians in the schools. The secretaries were usually successful in calming an irate parent before I would see the parent, and often had them laughing before I saw them. They made sure that everything in the office was running smoothly. One of the secretaries was an avid reader and would put her lunch each day in a drawer in her desk. And when all was quiet, would take out her lunch and take a few bites and replace it in her desk, and later would repeat this. By the time her lunch hour began, she had finished her lunch and would read during the lunch hour instead. She was able to read a book a week using this system. The custodians would be asked to do a multitude of things for all of us, from adjusting student desks to cleaning up after 6 children, and on and on. We had one charming little girl in the 2nd grade who had a spinal problem and couldn't walk. The custodian was delighted each day to put this little girl in a little red wagon and deliver her to her classroom while the mother would go up to the room at the end of the day to take her home. I think that my favorite role as an educator was to interrupt and interact with the students. I usually would be out on the playground as much as possible. And I remember when a couple of 1st grade girls who had must have been to Sunday school came running up to me and grabbed my hand and asked me, "Do you love Jesus?" I said, "Yes, I love Jesus." And they said, "Goody!" and ran to where the other students were shouting, "Mr. Mahlke loves Jesus." Lastly, I did call my daughter in Montana and asked her what I should say in my speech. And her reply was, just tell them to love kids and end your speech.
Well, Mr. Richard Mahlke, as our newest member of the Ventura County Educators Hall of Fame, I'd like to present to you this ring as the newest member of our class. Congratulations.